Hello and welcome to Survivor Everything. I'm your host Liam, and I hope I'm not too late to the party to start talking about the Survivor 50 cast reveal. We finally got it. After production lied to us the night before the finale when they posted on their Instagram that the Survivor 50 cast would release on Wednesday, when they really meant the following Wednesday on the CBS morning show. Every Survivor fan's favorite show apparently. Most channels seem to be talking about their thoughts on this cast through chronological order from when they appeared on their seasons. So let's change it up. I'm going to do it by who I'm least excited to see return, by who I'm most excited to see. And I'm not going to discuss the Survivor 49 players since there's nothing really to go off of right now, and I always have a hard time getting hyped off of season trailers alone anyways. With all that, let's talk about the cast of Survivor 50 in the hands of the fans. The person I'm least excited to see, and this may come as a shocker to some, but I've never been high on Stephanie LaGrossa, now Stephanie LaGrossa Kendrick, and any of her 3 previous seasons. I'm a pandemic watcher, so I never saw her previous seasons live, but my first season was Heroes vs. Villains, and she was the 3rd person voted out that season, not something very much to go off of. But in other seasons, she was aggressive, couldn't conform to the majority, and had a poor showing in season 20, and an even worse final tribal council performance in season 11. By the time I watched Palau, then Guatemala, I believe her rise to popularity was just the show editing her in such a heroic way, since she was the last member standing of Karor, but I didn't really ever see much of a character from her, just the stuff we got from the edit. My favorite moment from Stephanie is her jumping off the boat in episode 1 of Palau, since that was her being herself, her true self, a little bit arrogant, a little bit strong-headed, and very strong body, believing her athletic skills could swim her to shore faster than the tribe boat could. Stephanie didn't have a chance to win in her first season, but the same can't be said for the very next one, Guatemala, but she screwed herself and being one of the weakest second-place finalists in the history of the show. I've always been a bigger fan of Bobby John than Stephanie, and she is my least excited person to see return. My second least excited cast member on this season is one of the 3 players from Survivor 46, Tiffany Nicole Irving. Tiffany was praised by the more online Survivor communities, especially on Reddit, but I never got the hype. She was an alright character, and I'm glad we might see a continued rivalry with Q and Tiffany, or maybe a reluctant team up, but Tiffany is just kind of dull for me as a player. She's a strong person, and she'll be an asset in challenges, and I can still see people saying she is a strong contestant for this season, and a strong contestant to even win it all. I don't see the vision though, but I have no problem with Tiffany and all the Tiffany supporters proving me wrong and seeing her going deep in this game. A player that I was shocked to see wind up on this season due to his activities outside the game, but I'm not shocked this person went up on the list due to their legendary status and favoritism by production, and that is Ozzy Lust. The thing about Ozzy is that he has already played 4 times already, and he hasn't really grown as a player in any of them. I'll give him props for making a bridge with Suri and burying the hatchet in Game Changers, but Ozzy plays a very straightforward and loyal game. He just wants to find an alliance and ride with them. He had no problem doing this with his tribe in Cook Islands, sticking with them until the end, even when they were outnumbered, and Ozzy was ready to do a Pagani on both his second and third try at the game, just wanting to steamroll to the end with the people he met on the very first day. When Ozzy plays again, he needs to act like his old self, just straight up and loyal, and then be sneaky and become a strategist. If Ozzy plays too hard out the gate while making it visible, I think it would scare his tribe mates to see Ozzy evolving as a player, and they would send him home early. He just needs to feign weakness, act like his old self, provide, and switch his game up the merge in a secret way to make it deep. Or he'll get caught early to the middle part of the game. The only issue with Ozzy is that I think he won't change how he plays, and we can see being a consensus pre-merge or early merge boot. Next up is Superman in a fat suit, and that's Kobe Donaldson. Kobe was so popular after the Australian Outback had aired that people were naming the newborns after him. The issue with Kobe is that he throws the endgame Australian Outback to Tina, and then proceeds to be a pre-merge boot in All-Stars, and is on the bottom of the Heroes tribe, and then the Yin Yang merge tribe in Heroes vs. Villains, constantly at risk of going home. Worse than that, in Heroes vs. Villains, once in the pre-merge and once in the post-merge, Kobe is ready to quit the game. Kobe had no clue who some of his castmates were on season 20, due to him being so out of the loop on the show, but I will say it seems like Kobe and his family do watch Survivor currently, and he has gone back into the game, and more into the strategy of it all watching it from home. If this is true, then maybe Kobe will actually want to try and redeem his last appearance, and maybe we'll actually see the Man of Steel again and not just Clark Kent, but if we're up to me, Lex would have taken this spot. I guess I'm not too impressed with the challenge beast of Survivor, since we have a 3rd one in a row with Jonathan Yun. The thing about Jonathan is that I don't think he has the social suave to be able to win this game, and if he gets to the end, I feel like it's rough around the edges personality can hurt him to get jury votes. Just like with any challenge beast, Jonathan has a great shot at surviving the pre-merge, with his tribal immunity performances being legendary enough to wind him up in this cast alone. Unlike the previous 2 challenge beasts I've talked about as well, I do feel like Jonathan has the best chance to adapt and learn from his mistakes compared to the other 2, but Jonathan will have to be willing to fix those errors. I see him finding a majority alliance, riding it far with them, and getting cut at the end again. Maybe Jonathan will prove me wrong and Mr. Jeff will read his name as the Survivor 50 winner, but I won't hold my breath on it. Moving away from Challenge Beast but sticking with the new era is Emily Flippin, the financial analyst that will never let you forget it. Emily is another player like Tiffany that lots of people are excited to see back, but I'm a little confused on why she's here. First of all, she made it clear she did not want to play again after the negative early season reception she got from Survivor 45, but I suppose as the online community loves her, she has seen the positive side and wants to return. I hope Emily could be a player like Poverty, who returns to play a better game and become a legend in her own right. But I could have gone without seeing her again. Emily's character arc of a judgmental loner turned to someone who loses that ego and is able to conform with her tribe is a great arc, but it's been told. I love in Survivor 45 when she goes from making fun of people for thinking that aliens built pyramids, but then at the merge is able to connect with people talking about aliens herself, learning from her original mistakes that isolated her from her starting tribe. But what are you going to do for the edit the second time around? Make her relearn all this stuff again? Some people think Emily will be the sent home early due to her threat level, but I find Emily to be a player that no one will be targeting or even thinking about once everything starts. Let's talk about the first winner on this cast and one I could have gone without, and that's Dee from Survivor 45. Dee is arguably the most dominant New Era winner and one of the most dominant winners in the history of the show. Dee played a great game from start to finish, running the season with the Reba 4 alliance and eliminating all the other players along the way except for a 0-vote third place finisher. The thing about Dee though is that I find her to be my third favorite player out of the Reba 4, and her win was so blatant that it was boring to watch since she isn't a compelling character to watch steamroll to the end, unlike how someone like Boston Rob is. I'm not even mad she won, she played a great game. I'm just a little annoyed that I followed someone who I didn't find entertaining on screen the whole time. But her entertainment value is merely a shadow to her strategic and challenge dominance, with her playing an amazing game in Survivor 45. A game so good that it will get her voted out pre-merge in Survivor 50. I don't see Dee long for this game, and her target might be the largest of all the New Era players. But if she wins or even makes a dominant deep run, she can cement herself as one of the greatest players of all time. Moving on to we're the first of 3 players from Survivor 48, and I have no clue why that many are here, but I'm least excited for a Camilla return. There's 2 big reasons for me not being high on Camilla, and both of them are going to send her home early, and this is why. The main reason that is really pulling me away from her is that I see her gone almost in the first 2 episodes if she goes to Tribal. She is weak in challenges, especially team challenges, and though she won individual immunity 1, challenges are still not her strong suit. The other reason that she had such a strong showing with Kyle in her season, and also was on the same SWAT tribe and merge tribe with Joe, working with him for most of the game as well. So her tribe want to get rid of Camilla early so she can't reconnect with Kyle or Joe. And if she does wind up on the same starting tribe as them, they'll want to cut her early so she can't continue to work with them. Camilla's a great strategist too, but she can be a little dull in confessionals unless she's fired up about something. I found her most interesting when she had that pent up rage she was letting out confessionals about Joe or David. It's not that I'm not excited to see Camilla come back, but, you know, we have 3 players from Survivor 48, and this is supposed to be a legend season. I just think that we could have gone without. Everyone else on this list I'm pretty excited to see, but some more than others. Next up, though, is the youngest cast member from Borneo and the 3rd place finisher of All-Stars, Jenna Lewis Doherty. Jenna's a sleeper hit on this list. A mature woman compared to her younger counterpart from earlier seasons, I could see Jenna really adapting to the modern game. Jenna still follows the show to this day, and she seems eager to return and play. It would be poetic if Jenna is booted early from the game due to her spearheaded movement to get rid of old school players, just as she had done all the years ago to get rid of winners and second place finishers in All-Stars. I do see Jenna finding cracks and making alliances though, with the new era and before players, and her target won't be as big as some of the players who have only played once. Hopefully Jenna can avoid being targeted early just for being an old schooler, since you can't get any more old school than being the only representative from Survivor Borneo. This next player is someone who no one has talked about highly in any regards that I've seen so far, and someone who I'm actually excited to see play again, and that's Aubrey Bracco. People only really remember Aubrey from her Edge of Extinction performance apparently, but she has had so much more to offer than just that. She is an amazing confessionalist, and is a very strong strategic side of the game. Though underedited in Game Changers, she made it to 5th place, a very respectable spot for her second showing almost immediately after her first season. And talking about Karan, Aubrey played one of the best second place games of all time, arguably a winning game. She knows how to navigate the game, and I feel like that she was just in her own head too much in Edge of Extinction and psyched herself out the game. And that's something I have full confidence that she can course correct and fix this 4th time playing. Everybody thought we were getting Canadian Batman and Caleb for the returning season, but instead we get the Canadian Queen herself, Genevieve Mouchalak. I was very shocked that the Survivor 47 representative was Genevieve, and that she's the only one, when I really believed it would have been Sam or more plausibly, Andy. Sam fits the best and ever win sentiment this season with all these second place players, and he also had an extremely positive edit, but Andy was the character of the season next to Rom that just stole the show when he was on screen. Genevieve, though, is no one to look down at either. She was made to be the strongest player left in the game by the final 6 along with Rachel, and it made a rivalry between those two and their warring sides very compelling to watch during the end stretch of the game. Genevieve was able to play from the top in the pre-merge, and then from the bottom during the post-merge, showing us that she knows how to navigate both sides of the game. Genevieve will take big swings like the Operation Italy vote, or by taking out people like Keyshawn or Sol. And the thing I like about Genevieve more than a pick like Emily is the fact that Emily's story arcs is the fact that she learns and implements it midway through the game. While someone like Genevieve, the whole point of her was that she didn't learn her mistakes until almost the end and wishes that she could play differently if she could. And now she can. Genevieve is some people's winner's pick, and I totally understand why. A person who defies the archetype she's in and pretty much only got second place due to a format change, and that's Chrissy Hoffback from Heroes vs. Healers vs. Hustlers. Man, I hate that name. Chrissy is arguably one of the most twist-screwed players of all time, even though it didn't mean her elimination from the game. Chrissy was part of the mom archetype of the show, but broke the mold by being a ruthless game player who did whatever she needed to make it to the end. Chrissy was always a better version of Missy from Samuel Del Sur to me, playing a better game that was aggressive but not as distasteful as Missy's. Chrissy has a chip on her shoulder from her loss, and I'm sure is filled with a vengeance to win this game this time around. I don't know if she'll be able to, but she is definitely someone who deserves the opportunity to try to win that $1 million again. I was not expecting to have this person so high up on the list, but if they can switch and learn from their mistakes, then a player like Joe Hunter might have a chance to win it all this time. I was never really hyped on Joe as a character throughout Survivor 48, but I did think we were getting a blatant dominant Joe win as we did with Dee and Jam Jam some seasons before. Joe's loyalty game was never fun to watch, with it being a steamroll for the most part, but he also wouldn't even interact with the people on the bottom or outside his alliance in fear of looking disloyal. The only time we get stuff from other players on the bottom with him was during his poor jury management before he would vote them out the game, but whenever moves need to get made, people on the bottom go to Kyle or Shaheen, not Joe or Eva. All I mean by this is that Joe's character-wise didn't give us a lot of fun interactions with people since he wouldn't interact with them when they'd approach him, and later in the season, they just stop approaching him altogether. With that said, if Joe learns from his mistakes of playing a straight loyalty game and that he shuns out other players who aren't part of his core, then Joe actually has a real shot to make it far. We know he is someone that easily garners respect from people around him, and he seemed to have a genuinely nice personality. Top that off of his challenge prowess for tribal and especially individual immunities, and there's no way he doesn't make it far. All he has to do is change the strategic side of his game, work with more people, or at least pretend to. I feel like in Survivor, as long as you act like you will help someone out and listen to them before voting them out, that person will vote for you to win over the person like Joe who doesn't give them the time of day. At least pretending to help the person gives them hope that they can win, while someone like Joe just shoots them down. Joe needs to give people more hope if he wants to win this time around. I know some people aren't too excited to see this next contestant return for a 5th time, but I have no problem seeing Cirie Fields return one more time. Cirie has been flooding our TV screens with premiere on The Traitors and winning, Snake in the Grass and winning, and getting 5th place in Big Brother. Cirie is a gamer through and through in these reality competition shows. Some people don't want to see her again because she's played 4 times already and has been playing so many other games so often lately, but she is just someone with plenty of games still in her. We're about to see her on Australian Survivor vs. the World as well, and it just goes to show the drive that she has to want to win these games. I'm sure the appearance fees for her to show up to these shows also help as well. Cirie is considered the best to ever win, and it would have been a shame not to see her on this Legend season. Next up is potentially the only other winner on this list and the last castaway from Survivor 48, and that's Kyle Fraser. Kyle didn't get the edit he deserved on Survivor 48, and if he makes it far in Survivor 50, I hope he gets the content that actually reflects him and his game. The thing about Kyle that makes him really interesting is that he understands the game on a very mature level, knowing that the game is about timing. It's like how Cochran described how he won Karamoan. It was all about timing. Kyle as well is always conflicting with himself doing the right thing morally and the right thing for his game. And though he always made the correct decision, it always weighed on him before and after he made it. I believe that Kyle is the second best winner of the new era. And Kyle is a very strong winner who was safe in the majority for most of the game. His weakest moment was at the Thomas boot when he had to use a hidden immunity idol to be saved, but Kyle and Camilla were also unfavorably swap screwed, and there was no way Kyle would have been voted out in the pre-merge if there was no swap and Steve went tribal council. Just like Dee, Kyle gets the chance to cement himself as one of the greatest players of all time, and I think that his well-roundedness and how nice he is will get him further than his other Survivor 48 castmates. I hope you like pre-New Era and Survivor 46 players, since those who I'm most excited for that's left. And next is Mike White. I'll be honest, I don't see Mike being in this game for long. He is so popular with White Lotus, it'll be so hard for him not to be a target, as well as being a second place finisher in David vs. Goliath just alone by that. The thing about him too is that he is no challenge piece, and he had a strong pre-merge and swap tribe in his original season, allowing him to get to the merge and back with the numbers. Mike is a great social player, and I was rooting for him in the final 3 of David vs. Goliath, but I knew they wouldn't vote for him to win, and it might be the same this time around as well. The money means nothing to a guy as rich as him. It's about the title, but I don't think he'll make it as far enough to be crowned the sole survivor this time. Let's bring in the next Goliath to this cast, and that's Angela Keeley. Angela is a fan favorite, being so aloof on screen while thinking every move she was making was a mastermind play. Angela is iconic for so many moments in David vs. Goliath, and people have been clamoring for a return for years now. The thing about Angela is that I'm excited to see her return, and there's a lot of potential in her, and I think that she makes it post-merge. I just hope that she doesn't seem boring or get a purple edit on this return season. Angela's already old enough to be matured when she played David vs. Goliath, so it's not like she needed a lot of maturing or growing up to do, but I hope she doesn't see her edit in that season and think that she needs to change who she was for the camera, since that would kill the character part of Angela that we love so much. Survivor is a TV show, so I don't care if you're a dominant or weak player. I just want you to be compelling TV as well, and Angela has that in spades. Speaking about great characters, it's the Kool-Aid Man himself, Rick Devens. People don't have high hopes for Rick, but I disagree. He is so charismatic and fun to be around that I think especially the new era players will just want to hang out with him. Rick Devens seems like the older guy that you respect because he has a family and a good job, and he's got that seniority over you. But you also love the guy because he just seems like he'd be great to have a beer with and chill and be like a really fun coworker. That energy is just infectious, and it's hard not to be swayed by it. Rick also has a strategic mind for this game, and is one of the greatest fallen angels in the show's history. I hope Rick still has it, because his knack for finding idols and winning individual immunities was insane for a guy his build and age. Rick had heart in his first showing, and was wildly entertaining, and he should have returned years ago. Now, we all know if production didn't have this person on the cast, then it would have been a big mistake, and that's Quantavious Burdett, or more formally known as Q. And no, this man doesn't make gadgets for James Bond, but he does kick ass in hide and seek, and he has the authority to cancel Christmas. Q is one of the greatest characters of the new era, and a lock for a return each season ever since the first time we saw him. Q is also the reason I voted for Rice to be in this season, since this man only had that burst of life in him come back in full throttle once the merge feast happened and those post-merge food rewards. I need Q full of life for as much as possible, because I'm ready for this guy to be the showstopper and screen stealer of Survivor 50. Alright, people can hate me for being this excited about this player returning, and it's the final player from Survivor 46, Charlie Davis. I know the more online community dedicates the casual watcher to being a Charlie fan, so I guess I'm a filthy casual since I love Charlie's game in Survivor 46. I actually find Charlie to be the better player than Kyle, and that's probably a wild statement due to Kyle winning the game, but the season circumstances were different. I'll put money that Charlie makes it further than Kyle, and not only that, but Charlie can integrate into any group. We saw on Survivor 46 that he ran the game with his original duo and Maria, but those two also pulled in almost any player and had every avenue to work with. Charlie and Maria played the game to where no one even played their idol to get themselves safe, not even Q, since Maria thought that he was safe before Charlie snipes him out the game. Charlie was constantly branching off and setting himself up, and if he had a duo in Maria like Kyle had and Camilla, then Charlie could have been the third winner I'm talking about on this list. Charlie played one of the best games in the new era and in the history of the show, and he played to win, and this time around, I hope he does. Do you know what a Reuben sandwich is? Because if you don't, I'm sure Christian Ubicki has an 8-hour-long monologue describing what it is to you. Christian might be the biggest one-time player fan favorite of all time. From the Marine Challenge where Christian wins the slide puzzle for the Davids in like 20 seconds while the Davids were far behind in the challenge from the physical portion, just set in stone by his first introduction how smart he was. And not only that, but he was so open about who he was. The edit of the show even cuts away from that first Marooning challenge as Christian is still talking about how he solved the slide puzzle, as his voice fades out, showing how much Christian knows and how confident he is to share it all. And Christian's confidence never comes off as arrogant, it comes off as endearing and likable. Christian's a great strategist and even better character. Christian also has a love for the game and is constantly keeping himself invested in the modern strategy and Survivor communities. He was a lock for this cast, and I'm glad to see him. The person I'm most excited to see back is the only person I've ever gotten a cameo from, and that's the Dragon Slayer himself, Coach Wade. We don't call him by his first name here. His parents haven't called him that since he was 18. I don't know what he's been coaching since 18, but that's besides the point. I debated putting Coach on my fan cast for Survivor 50, but went with Stephen Fishbach instead, due to the original theme being best to never win, and Stephen's first game was so impressive and dominant. But the more I think about it, Coach is just a better choice. He still fits the theme of playing a dominant second place finishing game, all while being the greatest character the show has ever seen. If it's in Tocantins where he is so high about himself that every scene about him is just so captivating due to how delusional and confident he is, or if it's 2 seasons later where he is so morally divided by the moves he wants to make, cost him an early boot out the game. By the third time we see him, he still has those aloof coach moments, but he has grown into a much stronger player, recognizing what's right for his game and how to get there. The scene where Coach approaches Cochran and tells him that the Savai's plan of Trickapolu won't work at the merge, and lays out Savai's plan like it's an Ocean 11 scheme, says that they won't fall for it, and then convinces Cochran to flip, is one of the most compelling and smart moves I've ever seen in the history of the show. You can see that Coach targeted the player most willing to flip, and made the best argument on why they should. Some people don't like Coach's game in South Pacific, but I love seeing the change of character, and I'm going to love seeing how he plays for a fourth time. That's it. All the players to talk about except for Jiz King, or whatever his name is, and the girl representative from Survivor 49. But what is there to say about them? I'm really looking forward to the Survivor 50 as much as the next person. And it's going to be great when we start getting cast buyouts and interviews with them around next February, so we can get a clear idea on how these players are feeling about this returning season. Everybody grab your torches. I'll see you in the next one.
Gonna give you some advice. Was not asked for it. Decades in life. Your teens are about just figuring out you know what. 20s are about becoming a man. Figuring out what your weaknesses and your strengths are. If you have not truly done that, I encourage you. Because you figure out your weaknesses, you make them your strengths. You take your strengths and you become invincible. You learn to face the midnight sun in your 30s. You take what you are most afraid of and you make that your comfort zone, your rock, your safety blanket, so to speak. Also in your 30s, you got to leave a personal legacy of accomplishments and achievements, because in your 40s, brother, you better be focused on the family and that generational legacy. The 50s, you're cruising on everything that you've built before, and in your 60s, you make sure that you never stagnate. Always learning, always progressing on that path of spiritual enlightenment, beating your body into submission. And in your 70s, you look to God because you know you're coming home, if not sooner. Little coach quote for you: the past is consuming the future so quickly that the only thing that we have is this very next moment. Live like it. Namaste, guys.